Welcome to the Explainer. You know, you hear the term Industry 4.0 all the time, right? And it just sounds, well, futuristic, expensive, and maybe completely out of reach. But what if I told you the biggest things holding companies back aren't budgets or technology, but just myths? Well, today we're going to bust those myths wide open using real-world stories to find out what's actually going on behind the buzzwords.
Okay, so here's our game plan for getting to the bottom of this. First, we're going to rethink what Industry 4.0 even is. Then, we'll get real about automation. And finally, we'll talk about where you can actually practically get started. Let's dive in.
All right, first up, let's tackle the biggest hurdle of all, which is just understanding the term itself. Because, honestly, the way most of us picture Industry 4.0 is just plain wrong.
So let's be real for a second. This is a super common feeling, right? You look out at your own operations and think, man, we're not ready for the future. We're still trying to get today right. It can feel like you're stuck back at Industry 2.5 while everyone else is talking about 4.0. But is that actually true?
Okay, this right here is a massive reality check. If you use PLCs, you know, those little industrial computers that run pretty much everything, or even just regular PCs to control your machines, guess what? You're not stuck at 2.5. You're already playing in the Industry 3.0 ballpark. The starting line is way closer than you think.
And that is the absolute key. See, Industry 4.0 isn't some crazy destination you have to reach by throwing everything out and starting from scratch. No, it's a blueprint. It's a vision for building on the foundation you already have to make your factory smarter and more connected.
And then there's this classic image, isn't there? The lights-out factory. You picture this dark, silent facility with just robots gliding around, no humans in sight. I mean, it's a cool visual for sure, but is that really the goal?
Well, the truth is, a real lights-out factory requires a level of perfection that's just insane. We're talking absolute, flawless standardization, a gigantic investment in automation, and a perfect data infrastructure. For most businesses, chasing this dream isn't just unrealistic, it's a total distraction from what actually matters.
Because this is the real heart of it. It's not about replacing your people with robots. It's about empowering your people with data so they can make better, faster, smarter decisions. The goal isn't an empty factory. It's a transparent, efficient factory.
So let's keep building on that. Next up, we're going to tackle maybe the biggest myth of them all, the whole idea of automation.
I bet you've heard this advice a million times. Want to do Industry 4.0? Start with automation. It sounds so logical. But there was this plastic cup factory that followed that exact advice, and they learned a very, very expensive lesson. Let's see what happened.
So this factory, they went all in. They automated their production line. And at first, it seemed brilliant. But then, a month later, finance comes knocking. They're hemorrhaging money. Why? Because the shiny new automation was just mindlessly turning out cups, including thousands of defective ones. Automating a broken process doesn't fix it. It just helps you make junk way faster.
And that story teaches us something huge. Quality is this really complex puzzle, you know? It's about your people, your machines, the materials you use, your methods, everything. Automation alone can't solve that puzzle. It's just one piece. The real solution is solid management. Okay, how about this one? This idea seems like a total no-brainer on the surface. Just link all your machines into one super long continuous production line. Sounds like peak efficiency, right? Well, it also creates a massive hidden risk. And there it is, the all-or-nothing problem. Seriously, think of it like those old Christmas lights. One bulb goes out, the whole string dies. In a long connected line, if a single machine stops for even a minute, everything after it is starved for parts, and everything before it gets backed up. Your entire factory can grind to a halt. Okay, so if it's not about building a lights-out factory, and it's not about blindly automating everything, where in the world do you actually start? Let's talk about some real, practical foundations.
Now, I'll be honest, this is not the sexiest part of Industry 4.0. Not by a long shot, but it is, without a doubt, the most important. Your data, your efficiency, your profits, all of it is built on one thing: your equipment actually working. If your machines aren't healthy, your smart factory is dead on arrival.
Just check out this real-world example. It's from a line that assembles circuit boards. They were dealing with over 300 shutdowns every single month. And when they finally dug into the data, you know what they found? The problem wasn't some huge catastrophic failure. It was tiny,
cheap parts like nozzles and belts that kept breaking because nobody was paying attention to them.
The lesson here is so simple, but it's so powerful. You cannot build a high-tech, smart factory on a shaky foundation of unreliable equipment. A proactive, preventative maintenance plan isn't a nice-to-have. It is the absolute price of entry.
All right, so let's talk about that other piece of common advice you always hear. Just start with IoT. Connect everything, collect all the data. Sounds smart, right? But this approach usually creates a brand new and very, very big problem.
Because this is what happens when you collect data without a clear plan. You just drown in it. One factory connected 100 machines, and they suddenly found themselves buried under a tsunami of 86 million data points every single day. They had all the information in the world, but it was completely useless. It was all noise.
And this is where we have to totally flip the script. The goal of IoT isn't to collect all the data, it's to collect the right data, the specific bits of information that help you solve a problem or make a decision right now. In the real world, not in some massive archive you'll analyze someday.
And, when you finally cut through all that hype and just focus on the fundamentals, on having reliable machines, on empowering your people, and on gathering purposeful data, that's when you start to see the results that actually matter to the business. Lower costs, higher efficiency, and ultimately, happier customers.
So when you zoom all the way out, this is the big picture. Industry 4.0 isn't just a project you do. It's not a robot you buy or a piece of software you install. It's a whole new way of thinking about your entire business. It's a total digital transformation from top to bottom. And if you take away just one thing from all this, please let it be this. There is no magic formula. There's no one-size-fits-all roadmap to Industry 4.0. The only path that truly matters is the one that you build for your own company based on your own unique needs. The journey doesn't start with a giant checkbook. It starts with a simple question. What's the first small, smart step we can take today?